Somebody asked me the other day what the BFHS was, and that got me thinking about what the BFHS was and what it actually is now, because I haven't really had a lot of contact with it for a long time. The BFHS is the British Federation for Historical Swordplay, and it was created around about 1999. And in those days in the UK, there wasn't a lot of groups, and it brought groups together. There's probably about a dozen originally, and people that wouldn't naturally intermix because of the sort of the nature of the sort of humour that they were studying, and also from their social backgrounds and where they were living. And it's got people working. It was actually a very, very good thing. It always had its critics. It was a good force for humour in the UK, in my opinion. It was, all the time, it's had several presidents, as they got to be called, basically leaders that are elected in. It was a democratic organisation. It still is, as far as I understand, a democratic organisation. And in one of those included our very own Rob Lovett, who was president in about 2000, I think, something like that. 2002, 2003, something like that. Three presidents, though, stand out for me. The original one who created the whole organisation and got it moving was Paul MacDonald. He did the very difficult and amazing job of actually structuring the BFHS into what could have become a national body for humour in the UK. When Paul stepped down and actually left the BFHS, Rob came into play, and then Andrew Feast took over. Andrew did again. It was an excellent front runner for the BFHS, and he was the one, you may have heard of the SWASH event. It was actually Andrew with Mark Donnelly that actually got the SWASH event running at the Leeds Armoury, and this was an annual event that ran about February, March every single year, and it grew. Royal Armouries, complete gala meal on a Saturday night in the actual war gallery at the Armoury, so it was very spectacular, very impressive event in itself. The BFHS in those days used to run two events every single year. This SWASH took over from their spring event, and in the autumn they'd run another event. Each member group would host the event or one of these events, and the whole thing basically grew. Then there was, as always, a bit of politics, a bit of falling out, a bit of an implosion went on, and then Sue Kirk stepped up, and she came in and did the thankless job of picking the BFHS up, stabilising everything, and under Sue's leadership, it grew. It grew for the next 2 to 3 years that she was president, and then she handed it on to Mark Hilliard. So, but those three people, Paul MacDonald, Andrew Feast and Sue Kirk, without them the BFHS would not exist at all. Then in 2013, when Mark Hilliard was the president, there was an election, and he was unelected as president, and the BFHS changed slightly. The SWASH event particularly had become very much one of the two largest events in the UK, along with Fight Camp, and it was very much a showcase for the BFHS itself. And there was a twist in the way that it was presented and organised. They, as is natural in humour, there's a very large number of people actually study longsword and the longsword arts. The BFHS always tried to balance this out by split between longsword and backsword and rapier and so on, and trying to balance it out. So its big event SWASH was balanced between sort of basically four areas, to be honest. But after Mark was replaced as president in 2014, they came along and advertised SWASH, and the original publicity for it had no longsword at all, and effectively the event bombed. I was treasurer in 2013 and for the previous year or so, 2012 and I think maybe 2011, of the BFHS, and I know that in 2013 we had 142 people at this massive gala meal in the War Galleries on the Saturday night. 1 year later, in 2014, I understand it went down to 40 people or 42 people, so the event bombed entirely. After that, they seemed to have stopped doing SWASH. They put it onto some sort of back burner and said they would get around to it when they could, and they've not done it since. So for the last 5 or 6 years, there's been no major event. So the Exiles, the group I'm with, resigned from the BFHS in 2014, and we went our own way, found out we could do our own insurance. We're big enough we could do our own insurance, and the other services that the BFHS provided a lot cheaper, and we got away from the politics of the whole thing. But what's interesting is I don't actually think the BFHS has done an awful lot since, and I did a little bit of reading up to try and find out where it was today. And what's curious, if I can say this, is that the BFHS now on its website basically advertises three main missions, points of its mission, and these are very much what they always were. One, to promote and recognise a high quality research in the form of translation and interpretation of historical material with due reference to other historical factors, e.g. clothing, social context and so on. To ensure that member groups provide high quality instruction with due to regard to safety, inclusivity and similar coaching related matters and so on. And to promote the practical application in the form of experimental free play and tournaments. Now, as far as I can tell, I'm certain that the groups that are still in the BFHS are of high quality and maintain that sort of that second point, the safety. But the first one, to promote research and translation interpretation and to promote practical application of experimental free play and tournaments, they don't do anything. They haven't run an event for about 3 years. They ran one. Practically, I think they've run about 2 events in the last 5 years or more. But there's more things on here that they're meant to be doing. They're meant to do martial certification. This is on their website as being under construction. They're meant to do things like tournaments and national rankings. These are under construction. The BFHS National Championships are mentioned, under construction. There's actually, this whole thing does very, very little. Now what's interesting is, as well, is if you go to their homepage, you get a long spiel about what how good the BFHS is and what everything it does by the current president, Martin Doherty, and then you get a very massive thing about his credentials and how excellent he is and how brilliant he's meant to be. Yeah, great. You've been present for sort of, I think, 3 or 4 years and done bugger all, basically. There's they used to have an instructor level examination called an IL1, which replaced an earlier one, and they have seemed to release an IL2, so they're testing their instructors to a certain level. But apart from that, the BFHS is doing nothing. It's a void organisation. The only thing I know the BFHS has done was about 2 or 3 years ago, a guy in Scotland wanted to try and make effectively a national standard, a national governing body standard, not a governing body itself, and the BFHS complained. Put an official response into the Scottish sort of sports federation to sort of like counter this. So apart from making one complaint, running a couple of minor events in the last sort of 5-6 years, and then of bringing out, and it is a good thing, bringing out a next level of their standards for instructors, the BFHS only seems to really be there to provide insurance. And the thing is, you can get insurance a lot cheaper elsewhere than you can with the BFHS. I don't know, apart from obviously a lot of self-promotion about what Martin Doherty does. I know that he blocked me on Facebook several years ago for some reason which I never got told about. I think I contradicted him in something, so he just immediately blocked me. But yeah, BFHS. So the answer to the question is, what is a BFHS? The BFHS is something that was very, very good. Controversial in its own way, because trying to get a national body put together is very controversial, but it did a lot of good things. It did some major events, it did a lot of promotion of HEMA, it did a lot of building up of basic standards of groups, and it gave a platform, particularly for new groups starting up, to actually get involved in. Now it's provides insurance. That seems to be the main of what it does. It's an insurance broker, and it's got a lot of things that it says it does on its website which it doesn't actually do. Quick check on it. It's a limited company, by the way, so a quick check on Companies House, you can see that it's not in dire straits financially, but you can see how the money that was built up, if you go back through the accounts in 2013, are slowly siphoning away every single year. So it's on a slow slide financially, just spending money probably on websites and other bits and pieces of meaningless stuff. So the answer to the question is, what is the BFHS? The BFHS is pointless. That's what the BFHS is. It's been left behind. The current executive, president, whoever else is involved, is not taking it anywhere. It's not doing anything, and the rest of him in the UK is moved well ahead of it. You can get insurance cheaper. You can get certifications, better certifications elsewhere, and I think if the member groups are still paying money, they're effectively wasting their money. So that's what the BFHS is. Yeah. Shame really, because it was a really good organisation, but hey, things change. Thank you.